Hi, everybody.
Good morning, good morning. Just been up in Manchester for 2 weddings for a beautiful simchas. And yeah, that's nice. And good morning to you, Rebbetzin, Silber in Yerushalayim. And Marcella, didn't even get to see you. I just about was breathing, Baruch Hashem.
You're a busy lady, and you hosted my one of my students for Shabbos.
I certainly did.
She sent me an email. I have to ask her permission to send it to you.
Okay.
She thinks you're the queen of Hafnos Asar. I think that's what she called you.
I'll take it. We work on it.
Kol hakavod, really, kol hakavod. You know, because here in Eretz Yisrael, one of the things that we do is Hafnos Asar. So if you're to get a compliment about Hafnos Asar from an Eretz Yisrael Zakayid, it's a big thing.
I try and say that I live in Eretz Yisrael, even here in England.
Good, that's whenever anybody gets you live in Eretz Yisrael. You're hanging out in London and Manchester, but you live, where do you live?
I say we're residing in London. We live in Eretz Yisrael and reside in London.
You're hanging out. Be more
hanging out.
Hang out. You're stuck. Or you're temporarily, you're on vacation from whatever. You're going to shop in London. Not you live in London. You don't live in London. Okay, Hashem, the truth is, I shouldn't say that. Hashem's presence is everywhere. He wants us to love the whole world.
We're also just learning Le'ilu Nishmas. It's the 7th yard side of spring, and it is I didn't get it on the poster, but we are Baruch ben Eliyahu Shmuel.
Okay, so he should have Eilu Neshama.
And obviously, as always, all of Klal Yisrael.
All of Klal Yisrael. We want to also dive in for the refuah shlema of Rabbi Dr. Zelenko.
Doctor?
The available wolf, Zev Ben Leah. Dr. Zelenko. He needs a refuah shlema. He needs a big miracle. And Hashem is in charge of miracles, right?
Yeah.
Hashem is in charge of miracles. 1 second, I just have to find the place. Also, has somebody else. Who else do we have in mind? We need somebody else to have in mind. Who also needs big Yeshuas. I forgot who. Everybody say all the names that you know. We're going to be learning today's Rosh Chodesh. We haven't had a Thursday shir that it was a Rosh Chodesh ever. Did we ever have that?
Not that I remember.
Of the month. I know you're going to do it later also. Somebody has to mute himself. Somebody has to mute. I want to talk about the energy of today. Who has to mute? Maybe you, Naomi, maybe you have to mute. And whoever's not muted should mute because there's all kinds of sounds coming in. Devorah, you have to mute. Who else? Focus of Katie. Hi, Pauline. Hi, Ginny. Hi, Marcel. Hi, everybody. Terry. Okay. Everybody knows that here in Israel, the summer has just begun officially today. Aleph Tammuz. The summer is called Tkufat Tammuz. That's how you say summer in Talmudic terminology. the Tammuz season, and that's when the heat starts. Tammuz, Av, and Elul, those 3 months are considered the summer months. Tammuz and Av, you know, are not, in the past, have not been such easy months. We hope that this year Hashem will transform them into happy months. We already know that the potential is tremendously great for transforming this year into happiness, because Tisha B'Av and the 17th of Tammuz actually fall out on Shabbos. And we know that Shabbos, we don't fast, Baruch Hashem. So we will be eating on Tisha B'Av this year, definitely. And we will be eating on the 17th of Tammuz this year, definitely. If the 17th of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av was a Tuesday this year, I couldn't promise you that you're going to be eating on it. But this year I can promise you, because it's Shabbos Chodesh, we are going to be eating on 17th of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av. And we'll be eating fleishiks. In the middle of the 9 days, we'll be eating fleishiks and drinking wine or grape juice or whatever you like to have. How are you going to open up to the energy of David HaMelech? How do we want to draw into us the miraculous life of King David, of David HaMelech? So one of the code words that we've learned already in Tehillim is the word kavod. Ura kevodi, wake up my kavod. What does kavod mean? So we learned that David HaMelech uses the word kavod in place of the word neshama, soul. So whenever we talk about the kavod, whenever you learn Tehillim and you talk about the kavod of a person, you're talking about their soul, their neshama, their soul. When you talk about in Tehillim, when you talk about water in Tehillim, we're gonna go into Tehillim in a minute, but I'm giving you intro. When you talk about water in Tehillim, you don't just talk about the liquid H2O, you talk about spiritual nourishment. When you talk about enemies in Tehillim, you talk about your Yetzer Hara. David HaMelech made codes in Tehillim, and he expects us. He wants us to learn his Tehillim and to decode his message. And so Hashem also puts lots of codes in our life. And you know what? People have, everybody has their thing. Sometimes, let's just say that, I'm just making this up, but let's just say that every time you get good news, it's preceded by a pigeon landing on your porch. Let's just say. So every time you pay attention to that, you notice that, look at that, the pigeon just landed on the porch and the kids just called to say they had a baby. The pigeon just landed on the porch and so-and-so just got engaged. The pigeon just landed on the porch and I got a parnasa b'shefa. So you notice everybody in their life, you should pay attention, because Hashem always sends us codes in our life, hints, special personalized messages. Anyway, also in a family, people make up in families like code words. Like if you want the meal to end quickly, so you say something like, can we sing that Smiris that we like so much, or whatever. You have, every family has its codes. And Hashem made a code also for every Rosh Chodesh. And I'm going to teach you today, we're going to learn today, the code, the special hidden message for Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, specifically for today. And if you have not yet davened Musaf, which I'm assuming you did because it's 10 o'clock in the morning by you, and I think your mornings start early, I forgot already what it's like in England, but I know Shabbos ends very late for you. Maybe the morning starts late, I don't know. But if you haven't davened Musaf yet, or even if you have, today's lesson is going to be about the code of Tammuz and how to make sure that you have a better Tammuz this year than all in the past. And this code is coming from a book called the Sefer HaYetzirah. It's also coming from your siddur. So if you have a Sephardic siddur or a Nusach Sfard, certain Nusach, like a Chelkas Yoshua siddur, if you have certain really heavy-duty Hasidic or Eidat HaMizrach siddur, and you look in the Musaf Shmona Esrei for today, because it's Rosh Chodesh, Aleph Tammuz, we've had 2 days Rosh Chodesh, yesterday and today. But because it's Rosh Chodesh, so we have a Musaf Shmona Esrei. In the Musaf Shmona Esrei, we say, Hashem, bring us back to the Beis HaMikdash so we could sing David HaMelech songs, so we could sing Tehillim. That's why we need so much to learn Tehillim, because that's one of the ways that we daven, that Hashem should bring the Beis HaMikdash by saying, Uveshirei David Avdecha. We want to sing the songs of David, your servant. So you have to know those songs, those hymns, if we're going to participate in it. So in the Shmona Esrei, if you look at the Musaf, the extra bracha, the extra Shmona Esrei, you'll see that there's a bracha at the very end of the special edition called Baruch Atah Hashem. You, Hashem, are the source of the blessings. Hamakadesh Yisrael v'Roshei Chodashim. And you sanctify, you make holy the Jewish people and Rosh Chodesh. So when you say that pasuk, that bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, Mekadesh Yisrael v'Roshei Chodashim. When you say Hashem's name, Baruch Atah Hashem, you say Hashem's name, like we say in the bracha. So the Siddur will tell you that your eyes are supposed to scan and look at a certain way of rearranging Hashem's name. We all know it's a little complicated, but bear with me. We know that Hashem's name, the most essential name that humans know at this point in time, is the name Yud, and the name of Hashem that we spell Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. We call that the Shem Havaya. We nickname it the Shem Havaya, and it's Hashem's name. It's the closest that we can get to Hashem's name. We know that there's another name of Hashem that has 42 letters. There's another name there are all kinds of different names of Hashem, because Hashem doesn't have a name. He just teaches us about himself through showing us different names that he associates with himself, so to speak. But the name that we look in Chumash, the name that the Torah writes is Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yud Kei Vav Kei. We say Kei instead of Hey because we don't even want to say the letters of Hashem's name in vain. And so the Sfarim tell us, the Ariya Kodesh taught us this, that every month of the Jewish calendar has a different way of rearranging the letters of Hashem's name just for us to look at. We always pronounce Hashem's name the same. We pronounce it like you pronounce a bracha. Baruch Atah, how you say Hashem's name. We always pronounce it. But we look at the different ways of writing Hashem's name. And how are these different ways? So you just take the Yud and the Hey and you rearrange them. You take the Hey and the Vav and you rearrange them. You take the 2 Heys, you put them in front. You take the 2 Vavs, you take the 2 Heys, put them in the end. You take a Yud and a Vav, put them together. You put the Heys in the end. You rearrange it, and that's what's written in this Siddur. Every month has a very particular and specific rearrangement of Hashem's names. What's Hashem's name in the month of Tammuz that we are today entering? What's the configuration of God's name today? It's exactly Hashem's name reversed. We usually write Hashem's name Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey, and today it's going to be, we're going to look at with our eyes a Hey and a Vav and a Hey and a Yud. Exactly the opposite. So now, if you're a depressed person, or if you're a scared person, or if you don't have the right attitude, you might say like, oh no, what does that mean? Does that mean that everything this month is backwards? And that, right? And you get scared? No. We're not going to go, we don't go in that mahalach of life. We say, then this Reb Shmuel Eliyahu said this morning, we say, even when things look backwards, it's still Hashem, and we still can come close to Hashem, even when things look the opposite of what we would have liked. Because it's only the opposite externally, but inwardly it's all Hashem. So you can reach tremendous spiritual happiness and height in the month of Tammuz. Tammuz, you should know, is a crazy thing because the name Tammuz is the name of an idolatry that they used to worship in ancient times. It's a name like, we wouldn't even say that name. And our rabbi said, we can make fun of that idolatry. We could even call a month of the year that and not be afraid of it. Because in the month of Tammuz, we can strengthen our emunah. That even when things look crazy, it's just Hashem. It's the same Hashem when things look crazy as when things look good. And when you remember that, then everything is okay. So listen to this incredible teaching. What's your favorite holidays? Everybody has different holidays. But what do you think is the kids' most favorite holiday? It's Purim. Yeah, that's Purim because it's so much fun. You dress up, you get candy, you run around, everybody's happy, everybody loves each other, everybody gets each other shalom mishlach manos. So we're going to become Purimdik today. We're going to Tammuz, the month of Tammuz, is connected to Purim. I'll show you how. The name of this month is coming from the pasuk in Megillas Esther. Remember Megillas Esther, right? So the story of Purim. So remember what Haman, Yamach Shema, what does he say? When Mordechai refuses to bow down to him, so Haman goes home and he convenes a group of his wife and all the people, his friends and everybody. And he says to them, listen, I want to tell you what my life is all about. I have wealth, I have power, I have children, I'm famous, I'm second in command here. But none of this matters to me as long as Mordechai HaYehudi doesn't bow down to me. V'chol ze einenu shaveh li. This is not important, it's not valuable to me as long as Mordechai is not bowing down to me. So look at the ending letters of these words. The verse that he says, which is so outrageous, is V'chol ze, all of this, einenu shaveh li. Ze ends with a hey, and einenu ends with a vav. Shaveh ends with a hey. Li ends with a yud. So if you take the last letters of these four words, you get Hashem's name spelled out backwards. And the Ariyah Chodesh says, that's the name that we're supposed to look at when we say the Musaf, Shemona Esrei, and also that's the name of God we're supposed to meditate on all month long. It's not just today, but the whole month. The month is based on this. Now we're going to get to Tehillim in 1 second. I just want to give you this important message. So what does it mean, the energy of the month of Tammuz? Haman had everything. He had everything anybody could have wanted, but he wasn't satisfied. Not just he wasn't satisfied, but he refused to acknowledge. He refused to acknowledge the goodness of anything that he had. He says, it's not worth it to me. What do you mean? The amount that you have children, that's not worth it to you? You have wealth. You're in the government. You're a ruling person. You're a celebrity. You're powerful. You have a wife. She's loyal to you. You have a whole entourage of people. That's not worth it. Anything just because one Jew won't bow down to you. Guess what? That's how we are also. Chas v'shalom, not to compare ourselves to Haman. But in our life, we could say the same thing. Look at all the things that you have. And then what do you focus on? What you don't have. So people will say, if somebody comes to complain and they'll point out, yeah, but you have this and you have that. And the person will say, that's true, it's true. But then they'll make that qualifying horrible word, but. However. So it's true. How is it if you have 9 children, they should all be well, and one of them is a little bit problematic. So you focus on that one child. What about focusing on the 8 that are great? And that one, of course, you have to pay attention to, but your whole life shouldn't revolve around the aggravation you have from one when you have 8 beautiful. But that's the nature of people, and we have to fight that very strongly in the month of Tammuz. Tammuz means look at what you have and don't disregard, don't minimize all the wonderful things that we do have. The fact that we all have a roof over our heads, you know that 75 years ago, that wasn't true of our grandparents. They didn't have a roof over their heads. They were running from barn to barn to who knows what. We have food in the fridge. Our grandparents did not have food. They didn't have refrigerators. They didn't have food in the fridge. So you say, yeah, that's true, that's true. When you say it with that attitude of, yeah, that's true, you're minimizing your blessings, and it's a little bit of a shmek. It's a little bit of a connection to a big Yetzer Hara called Haman. So that's why every morning we have to say, thank you that I could see. Thank you that I could stand up straight. Thank you that I can walk. Every morning, the morning blessings. Thank you that I'm Jewish. Thank you that I'm not a slave. Did you ever think about that? Thank you, we're not a slave. We don't know what slaves are, but a slave is a life that's like being in jail. They're given their food, they're given their shelter, but they have no life of their own. Everything is do this, to that, do this, to that. It's like being in jail. So thank you, I'm not in jail. Okay, so that's the energy of this week, of today. Strongest is today, because Rosh Chodesh. How we begin the month is how the whole month proceeds. So today we're going to try our best to focus on enjoying, not just acknowledging our blessings, but literally having a geschmack, enjoying them, and not paying attention to what we don't have. What we don't have, we have to say, listen, we can still daven for it, but we have to say at a certain point, Hashem, you are my melech, right? We want Mashiach to come. We keep saying we want Mashiach to come. We want Mashiach to come because then Hashem will be melech in the whole world. We can say right now, Hashem, you are my melech, and you have decreed that you're as a melech, you decree this decree, and you're my melech. I have to just, I can reach out to you, I can pray to you, I can ask you to change it. But the bottom line is, at a certain point, I have to accept it. And you're the king. And we know that you love us more than we even understand what the word love is. We don't have conception of how much Hashem loves us. So let's not be like Haman. Let's not say this is not worth it for me as long as I don't have something else. Let's just say what I have, I love and I appreciate, and it's a geschmack. I enjoy it. I get pleasure from whatever it is that I have. I'm mamish enjoying it. Even eyeglasses. Think about it. When we were without eyeglasses, right? You wouldn't be able to see. And how is that till you find your glasses in the morning? Does everybody have a pair of glasses that they always keep by their bed so that they can put them on to find their real glasses? Yeah. Well, okay, I do. Till you find your glasses. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem for everything. But for everything, Baruch Hashem for glass. We have glass windows and not, Okay, that's the energy of Tammuz. And we're going to learn the parak. I'm not sure if we learned this parak of Tehillim, so if we did, we're going to go through it quickly. If we didn't, we'll go through it slowly. But we're going to go through a parak of Tehillim that David HaMelech does exactly this. It's a very famous Tehillim, you know it all by heart. It's the one we sing by Shalosh Shudas. It's parak 23, Chaf Gimel. And even if we learned it, I want to just review it again, just because I want to show you this point. Chaf Gimel 23, Mizmor LeDavid, the one that we sing by Shalosh Shudas, Hashem Roi Lo Echsar. Some people sing it every meal. Some people sing it 3 times Shalosh Shudas. Some people say this by Sfardim. They say it sometimes every time they make Hamosi. They say this parak of Tehillim. So we know the very famous parak of Tehillim, Hashem Roi Lo Echsar. Hashem is my shepherd, and I won't ever be missing anything. I have nothing wrong with my life. That sounds so beautiful. And by the way, when you read this Silber, you think, oh, it's so beautiful. It's so idyllic. He's lying down in beautiful waters. Yes, it is. It is. I was going to say that, Ruthie, but we'll see. We'll get into that because it's really the both eyes. Ruthie's reminding us that the sense of sight, to see things, is the energy of the month. Because the month has a letter, it has an energy, it has a lot of substance. Okay, so David HaMelech is saying, Hashem, you're my shepherd. I feel like a cute little sheep. And I feel like I'm looking at my shepherd and I know that everything I need, he's going to take care of. Because here I am, that little sheep or that little child. It's interesting that we call children kids. Do you say that in British English? Yeah. So children, we call them kids. Why do we call them a kid? Because a kid is like a little baby sheep. A little goat is a kid, right? And our children look to us as if we're their shepherds, meaning we're supposed to take care of them. We're supposed to feed them and clothe them and protect them emotionally and spiritually and psychologically and physically. And we know that when we don't, for whatever reason, we're devastated. My parents, they should both rest in peace and have a good Gan Eden, be good to basic for me and for all my generations. So my parents never, ever took a babysitter. I never knew what a babysitter was, except one time. One time, my parents had to go to some event, a wedding or something, and they took a babysitter. And I must have been, I don't know, 4 years old, 5 years old, whatever. My brother fell asleep right away, but I didn't. I was like traumatized. What is this? And I got a crazy ear infection. I got an earache. The only time in my childhood that I got an earache was when I felt abandoned by my parents. And even though I was smart enough to know that they told me they're going to come back, they're just going to whatever wedding it was, they're going to go, and so-and-so is going to watch us. But I got an earache from that. I remember that was the only time. You know, sometimes kids get earaches the whole life. I remember such a mess, such a thing. Why? Because you look to your parents and says, you're my kid, you have to take care of me. I can't do anything. Okay, then you get older and you try to take care of yourself, whatever, but at a certain point, so David HaMelech, when he says, Hashem, you're my ro'eh, you're my shepherd, that means I'm your kid. I'm your little baby goat. I'm your little baby sheep. And I don't know what to do with my life. I'm just eating and drinking and, running to the water and running to the grass, and you're taking care of me. You make sure that you take me to grassy places where there's food. Okay, and just another one puzzle before I tell you where he said this. You let me lie down with this thick, good grass, and it's like a really, really nice, soft place for me to lie down and also eat. And you take me to a lake, and the lake is nice and calm and smooth, and it relaxes me. It's like nice waters. One more puzzle. And you calm my soul down. So where was David when he said this? You would think he was was in Hawaii, sitting by the lake with a drink and an umbrella, watching the waves, and he was like in this idyllic place, because that's what he's painting. He's saying, Hashem, you're taking care of me, giving me food, giving me water, the sweetest, you're calming me down. Chazal tell us that he wrote this in one of the most tormented times of his life, when he was running away from Shaul. And somehow he got stuck in an area that was completely a part of Israel that was dry, and the ground was hard like a rock. He couldn't find shelter. He couldn't find shade. Today's a sunny day. Everybody knows when you come to Eretz Israel and you're in the sun, go to Beersheba in the summertime, go to Beit Shemesh in the summertime. The sun is so strong. You need a protection from the sun. He somehow found himself in an area when he was running, and then when he finally stopped, he got lost in this forest. But it wasn't a forest of trees and streams and cute little deer and animals, like a Bambi kind of a thing. It was an arid, dry, cold, dark, scary forest. And he fainted. He fainted from exhaustion, from heartbreak, from whatever emotions and from thirst and from whatever, but mostly from angst and sadness, not sadness, but heartbreak, that he has to go through this, that he loved Shaul. Shaul HaMelech was a Rebbe of his. He loved him. He looked up to him. And he understood that Shaul HaMelech is not evaluating the situation correctly. So he knew. And he knew it was from Hashem. And he knew that everything's going to be okay. But it was too overwhelming. And he fainted. What did Hashem do? Hashem gathered him up, so to speak, as if Hashem, as if like a mother sees her child fell asleep, exhausted on the floor, and she lovingly and softly picks him up and puts him in his crib and turns on the air conditioner in the room and puts a little bottle next to him for when he wakes up and turns the little mobile so he should have entertainment when he wakes up. That's what Hashem did. He revived David HaMelech. But he didn't just revive him and then he was, picked him up and he continued running. He made him that he was surrounded, instead of flopping onto the rocks, which is really where he fainted onto hard rocks. If you've ever been near the Dead Sea area, so you know that across the street from the Dead Sea are all of those caves. In that area, basically, somewhere over there is where he fainted. There's no grass there. It's very, very arid, very dry, except by En-Gedi Spa, which is a miracle place, the oasis there. But David HaMelech, he fainted onto the hard rock ground. But what Hashem did before he woke him up, Hashem sprouted underneath David HaMelech. He sprouted thick grass, and he moistened it with the moisture of Tchias HaMesim, how Hashem's going to revive the dead, whatever that magical elixir of reviving the dead Hashem's going to do. He put that on the grass that David was lying on. In other words, he sprouted underneath the David HaMelech. He all of a sudden picked up a beautiful carpet of grass that was mivusam, that was sprinkled with this tal tchia, the dew of Tchias HaMesim, and he put a fragrance of Gan Eden on that grass, and he made water and food grow like in Gan Eden. And then he woke up David. So David woke up, he was refreshed, he felt like enlivened. And that's when he wrote this Perek of Tehillim. He wrote it because he was in a bad place. And he said, Hashem, you could take that exact place that I'm in. And you don't have to take me someplace else. The place that I'm in, and you're going to show me that really buried in the ground of that was hard, rocky ground, this lush grass and this beautiful stream of water next to me. Some say, and listen to this, some say that David HaMelech made up these words before he fainted, meaning he saw just rock and dry and cold. And he said, Hashem, he didn't see yet the blessing. He just saw the other. And he said, Hashem, but you're my shepherd. You take care of me. You're my daddy. You're my tati. You're my tata. You're my mama. And what I see here is I see rocks, it's really grass. And I see dry, it's really moist. And I smell it's dusty, and it's really Gan Eden. And there's nothing on this tree, it's really fruit on this tree. Then he fainted. He thought he was gonna whatever. And he woke up, and everything that he had described, Hashem made it happen. That's called creating your reality. Now, really, it's a very big discussion of this idea of think good and it will be good. Because really, Hashem's in charge of everything. You can think whatever you want. Hashem's going to do what he's going to do. But there's a concept of that a person can use the power of their mind as a prayer, as a tefillah. So David HaMelech looks at everything and he says, this is gorgeous. This is lush, this is fruitful, this is nourishing and nurturing. It's grass, I'm a sheep. You all know my name is Rachel. So Rachel means a sheep. So I like this pair because it talks about a person who's a sheep, right? A little kid. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story from Rabbi Nachman from Breslov. Rabbi Nachman from Breslov, when we finish learning Tehillim, we'll have to learn Rabbi Nachman's stories. It'll only take us about, 100 years to do all. I have a very big curriculum for you guys, just letting you know. So, and you should know also, I tell you this all the time, but I'll tell you again. Thursdays, I'm tired already Thursday. It's a whole week of teaching, right? But Hashem made the schedule perfect for me because Thursday morning, I'm like, and then I remember you guys, I said, oh, good, I can do it. Ezrat Hashem. So Rabbi Nachman has a story called The Simpleton and the Sophisticate. And The Simpleton and the Sophisticate, it was translated, all of Rabbi Nachman's stories were translated very, very beautifully by Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. Also Rav Steinsaltz. But Rav Steinsaltz doesn't give explanations, but Aryeh Kaplan does give explanations. So buy yourself a safer. You should have it in the house. It's in English. It's beautiful. And in the Chacham and the Tam, the way that the way the story is titled in Hebrew and in Yiddish is the Chacham and the Tam. The Chacham is the Sophisticate, and the Tam is the simpleton. But the simpleton doesn't mean stupid. It means having what word do I want to use? I don't want to. There's no negative connotation here to the word pure, like a pure, simplistic, simple emunah in God, but not innocent. All of the, yeah, that's a good word, innocent. But innocent is lafuke, guilty. Like there's a negativity associated with it. Tam, Yaakov ish tam. It really means perfect. That's really what it means. It means perfect. But the Chacham and the Tam, you would say that the wise man and the perfect one, that would seem like the wise man is imperfect and whatever. It's hard to get those words. But Rabbi Kaplan, who's a master translator, said he translated as the sophisticate and the simpleton. The sophisticate is a very excellent translation. I like that because sophisticated is exactly what he is. He's trying to be, but the simpleton, I don't know if I would have, but okay, that's the word he chose. And in that story, which is a beautiful, beautiful story. And by the way, both of those parts, the simpleton and the sophisticate, isn't two different people. It's within us, is both of those qualities. So he talks about that the innocence, perfect person. So he's a shoemaker, and he makes shoes, and every shoe he makes comes out wrong. Somehow he puts the shape wrong, and he makes the shape in a triangle. Now, you know, our foot isn't a triangle. They used to have, remember, pointy shoes. I don't know. Hashem took me out of the slavery of shoes. And I like sneakers, and I don't care. We walk a lot here in Yerushalayim Chodesh. You have to be comfortable. You can't be thinking about your feet. You have to think about your head. So I wear comfortable shoes. But remember pointy shoes with a pointy heel, torture? Yeah, yeah. Some of you still know those shoes. So he kept making pointy shoes. And he would look at his shoes and he would say, what beautiful shoes these are. And people would make a joke, they would laugh at him. They would say, yeah, but they're a little bit misshapen. He would say, no, they're perfect. He only saw good in his shoes. And he was very poor because he kept making these pointy shoes, didn't have such a big business. So he didn't have a lot of clothing. He had, between his wife and him, one coat. So he would say to his wife, in the middle of the week, he would say, my dear wife, please bring me my coat that I wear when I go to the market. And she would bring that one coat. They only had one coat between the two of them. And then it would be, it would be Shabbos, and he would say, my dear wife, please bring me my Shabbos coat. And she would bring him that one coat. And it would be davening time. He would say, my dear wife, could you please bring me my davening coat? And she would bring him that one coat. And people would make fun of him But he said, no, I see on Shabbos, this is a Shabbos code. And I see in weekday, it's a davening code. And I see on market day, it's a market code. That's what I see. And because of that, it turns out that because he chose his attitude, in the end of the story, you see that he becomes the elevated one, and he has to save the life of his friend Sophisticate, because the Sophisticate was too much of an Iru Chacham, and he messed his life up, and so this guy had to save him. Anyway, that's what we see in this parak. David HaMelech is envisioning. He says, I'm seeing here not dry, I'm seeing here moisture and lush and goodness. And I'm calm. Nafshi Yishoveh, because I'm choosing to think positively, then I'm calming down. Nafshi Yishoveh. The word Yishoveh is only one time used in this way. It's an unusual grammar, and it's from the word like Shabbos, to have menucha, to return, to restore to the default setting. What's the default setting of every human being? Is a baby. A baby's happy. A baby's calm. A baby doesn't worry. When do kids start worrying? I don't know. Whatever age they start worrying, but babies don't worry. Little 2-year-olds, they don't worry. That's why you have to worry for them when they run into the street. They don't worry. There's no... Yishoveh means he's restoring me to my original settings of trusting him. And because I'm choosing to be a positive, then I know I'm always going to go right. B'maglei tzedek means I'm going to go in a path of righteousness. Actually, a magal means a circle. I'm going to go on a circle of goodness. I'm in a cycle of goodness. L'man shmo. You know why? Because Hashem's name is goodness. And now we know that Hashem's name in the month of Tammuz is pay attention to what we have. Look good. I just realized I'm going to make that new expression. When people say you're looking good, it means you have a good attitude. If someone says, if you're asking somebody, how do I look? What you should be really thinking is, how do my eyes view life? Not how is my outfit or whatever. How do I look at life? It's mamash a whole, it's our avoda. The Yenuka says it's our avoda. The avoda of this generation is to use the power of our eyes in a positive way, to see good in ourselves, to see good in our life, not to be like Haman, who only saw what he was missing. And in the end, he died from that. Could you imagine the next day he dropped dead? He says to Zeresh, none of this is worth anything. And even though he was invited to the party and he's elevated, it's not worth anything to him. And 2 days later, he's dead. He's hanging on the gallows. He could have lived a whole life enjoying. No, it knocked him out. I'm going to have my attitude. I'm fixing my attitude. Okay, now, David HaMelech is now going, last week we talked about this. David HaMelech, one of the most precious gifts that he gives us in Tehillim is that he validates our negative emotions. Then he transforms them. He helps us to transform them. But he doesn't deny our emotions. Listen, if you wake up one day, you're in a crummy mood. You're in a grouchy mood. Does it ever happen to you? It happens to me for no reason. I think it's because we ate the wrong thing before we went to sleep. I haven't yet done an experiment on myself. But does it ever happen to you that you wake up and you're just not in the best mood? You feel tired, you feel twitchy, you feel grouchy. And then you work on yourself. It's not like you stay like that. You have to get up, you have to get the kids, you have to get the house, you have to get to work, you have to get to shul, you have to daven. Whatever you have to do, you don't allow yourself to stay there. But you have to know that you woke up in a difficult mood. And you might have good reasons for that. There might be something going on in your life that's not letting you sleep, whatever. So David HaMelech in the next pasuk, which you know by heart, it is telling us, don't deny how you feel. Feel how you feel, But then don't stay there. Elevate it, fix it. So here he says, even though I'm walking in a valley of the shadow of death, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to be afraid that it's bad. Lo ira ra. I'm not going to be afraid that it's bad. He doesn't say lo ira. I'm not going to be afraid, because we get afraid. That's what he's acknowledging. We get nervous. We get upset. We hear this one has this sorrow and this one has that sorrow. We get upset. But the next thing is we have to say it's not bad. Lo ira ra. I can't say lo ira because I get scared. But I won't get scared that it's bad. Ultimately, we're all in Hashem's hands. Ultimately, we're in this huge bubble called Hashem. I know we all live in our life, and parts of life are joyous, and parts of life are scary, and parts of life are challenging, and parts of life are celebratory, and hopefully more parts of life are happy and simchatik and mazeltik and all of that. We hope we have a good life. But the bottom line is that if you can imagine this, if you get into a place of feeling danger, imagine you're in a big bubble, and that bubble is called Hashem. It's all within, we're all within Hashem. Hashem is called the Makom. Hashem is the place. The only place is God, and we're in God. So really, it's hard to say this, but nothing is bad. Everything is good. We just don't see it. We want to see it as good. But I won't be afraid that something is bad, because you're with me, Hashem. You're next to me. You're holding me. You know how it is when you're a little kid and you have to take and you have to get like I don't know, stitches or something, you know. And if your mom's holding you, your dad is holding you, so then it's chasi nacham. It makes it better. Somebody's holding you. I remember at my mother's levaya, she should rest in peace. I don't remember who this was, but at a certain point, somebody came over and just held me. And that was there. I didn't know who it was because it was dark. We had the levaya Moshe Shabbos. And listen, my mother, she had a long life, a good life, and she had a very good few years here in Eretz Yisrael. But it felt comforting to have someone, you know, hold you down. Did anybody hear of there's a blanket that's called a holding blanket? Did you ever know that? One of my grandchildren has it. It's a very good blanket. It's heavy and it weighs you down. I never saw it until I saw it in their house. Somehow it gives you a feeling of security and grounding you. I didn't hear what you just said. So that's called
They call them a weighted blanket, and they actually often use them for young children who need to sleep feeling secure. So the actual blanket itself doesn't make it warmer, you just feel the heaviness.
That's it. You know that from your... Okay, so yeah, you Hashem are my weighted blanket. You are my blanket is covering me. And therefore, you know all of this. That Hashem, your patch and your hug comfort me. Shiftecha means your patch, means the stick that you hit somebody with. And Mishantecha means your hug, it means the stick that you lean on. They comfort me. Because it's you. It's just you. So if you love somebody very, very much and they give you tzolchacha, they rebuke you, they give you some muster. If you love them and they love you, even though it's a sting, it stings, like they say you did something wrong. But it's from someone who loves you and someone who you love. So you can tolerate it. You can feel they're next to you. If let's just say, I'll say it in a different way. A teacher who's trying to teach a child or to teach a student something. Let's say, I'll do a simple example. An English teacher teaching writing. So the child writes something, or the student writes something, and they eagerly share it with the teacher because they love the teacher loves them, and they like to write. Why do they like to write? Because the teacher encourages them to write. So they share the piece of the story or whatever they've written with the teacher. And they want the teacher to correct it, but they really don't, because they really hope that everything they wrote is really well written. And the teacher wants to encourage the child to write and doesn't want to criticize and critique. So she's going to right away say, that's gorgeous. I love this story. Then she'll say something like, let's look at this sentence. How do you think if we would write it this way? Would it express the same way that you feel? And what about this, the fact that I think we should look up the spelling of this word because, whatever it is, a good teacher knows how to deliver criticism without big red X's all over the paper and cross outs, and all of that is horrible. I told you, I tell the story all the time because it was so meaningful to me. My father, he should rest in peace, was the cook in my family because that's what he did in the army, and the whole story about that. So my mother happily let him cook for many reasons. And so he was determined to make me an independent, fearless cook, which Baruch Hashem I am. He succeeded. How did he do that? I don't know, I was maybe 8 years old. I don't know how old he was when he decided that I should make Sunday morning breakfast. And Sunday morning breakfast in our house was either pancakes or French toast, depending on how much challah we had left over. But that was because that was the only time that the whole family could eat breakfast together, was Sunday morning. So I'm making the pancakes. And so I did it, and he gave me the recipe. In those days, it was just Aunt Jemima. You just poured water and an egg and some oil and some mixture. You didn't have to take flour and baking powder and stuff like that. Anyway, so I mixed it up. I was a very sloppy cook. A little bit still I am, because I like to do very creative. And then I poured in the pancake. Good. And then he said, okay, now flip it. So I said, what do you mean? I have a spatula. I'll flip it. He said, no, you're going to learn how to do this right. So he loosened the pancake with a spatula, but then he wanted me to flip it. Take the frying pan, pick it up quickly, and in the air, miraculously, the pancake was going to flip over and land exactly on the other side. And he could do that easily. My father was able to do that easily. And I had seen him do it many, many times, but I never tried it before. So he said, okay, try it. And I did it. I picked the pan up, and of course, without the right inflection of my hand and whatever. And so the pancake barely got out of the pan, and the whole thing flipped over halfway. And it was, all the batter was in the fire, and half of it was in the fire, and half the pancake was, flipped over, the other half wasn't flipped over. It was a big mess. And I was so embarrassed. My father said, absolutely perfect. I said, Daddy, what do you mean? Look, it's a mess. He said, no. That's exactly what you have to do for the first time you ever flip a pancake. That's exactly how it has to come out. That was it. He won me over. And I was never afraid after that to make mistakes, because that's the way it's supposed to be. So when it's Hashem is with us and we feel it's Hashem, I say to Hashem, it's saying you who's giving me a good day, is giving me a more challenging day. Could you please turn on the good day? I don't like the challenging day. It's you. It's not like there's two forces, chas v'shalom, in the world. There's the good God and chas v'shalom. It's not like that. It's all ki ata imadi, it's you, Hashem. That's the attitude of Tammuz. Chevra, if we can have this attitude in Tammuz, we have 40 days now until Tisha B'Av. 40 days, as you know, and I've been saying this all week, is a transformative amount of time. When people do a 40-day thing, 40 days at the Kotel, 40 days Shir Hashirim, 40 days whatever. So it's because there's 40, the number 40 is a transformative number. There's 40 is the gematria mem, the letter mem. Mem is the word mayim, water, the water element. The water element is what transforms as you go into a mikveh. Mikveh starts with a mem, has 40 measures of water. Anyway, try your best. I'm trying my best. To every day, remember this lesson of looking at the positive. Don't be humming. Looking at the positive. Using the right eye. The Sefer HaYesira says that the energy of the month of Tammuz also is the Ariya Chodesh says this, that the Tammuz is represented by the right eye. That means an ayin tova, have a good eye. Try to see the good in people. Try not to judge negatively. Try not to judge yourself negatively. Try to judge positively. Try to communicate in an honest way. Doesn't mean you have to be stepped on, but to communicate in an honest way. Have a positive attitude. Ki ata imadi, you Hashem are with me. Always you Hashem are with me. And therefore he says, he ends up the parak, by the way, I want you to make me a good meal, show my enemies that everything is good, that I'm good, that they're, the rest of the parak, you know, show my enemies only good thing, that I'm good, show them my victory over them, so that they see that you're in charge and not them. Only good things we want from Hashem. But in the month of Tammuz, because it's Rosh Chodesh, we're having a special idea. We're going to try our best to have a positive attitude. And if things are upside down, inside out, still search for Hashem there. Rabbi Nachman says that you can release more godliness into your life when you see Hashem from a negative experience, sometimes more than when you see Hashem from a positive experience. You can release tremendous amounts of spiritual energy and of the mitzotzot kedusha, the sparks of holiness. There's more sparks of holiness in a negative event than in a positive event, sometimes. So if you're having a negative and you're just focusing on God, or even just say, Hashem, this is a test from you. I don't like it. I don't want it, but it's from you. This is what you want. Then it transforms life, and it makes life much easier. It makes people much easier to deal with. It makes Nisyonot easier to pass. It makes the heat of Tammuz easier to bear. So Chodesh Tov and Mevorach to everybody. A blessed month.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
We're going to take a break in the month of August, Bezrat Hashem. Yeah. So we'll have a break in the month of August. We'll learn till August. And Bezrat Hashem. We have a new, in my head is cooking a new idea to give you for the next few weeks, something special. So we'll see if it works out. I'll let you know as soon as it solidifies.
Thank you very, very much. Good Chodesh and good Shabbos to everybody. And
wait 1 second.
Yeah. Message.
Let me say hi to everybody. Hi, Nomi. Hi, Devar. Thank you so much. And hi, Ruthie, again. Thank you so much. And Katie, thank you so much for all the notes. And Terry. And me and Marcel, and of course Rebbetzin. Oh, you're going all over my board. And Carmen, and all the people who are hidden behind their different names, Ricky and Mrs. Berman, and who else is there? Mrs. Kaplan, and I can't find you all. And Terry, oh, there's no me, and whoever's on the good Galaxy phone. Okay, good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, good Chodesh, and thank you again.
Thank you.